Are you looking to get stronger hips in 2023? Are you a female runner who wants to increase their distance and wants to make sure that they have their hip strength correctly in 2023? Well, you are in the right place. My goal for 2025, actually January 2025, is to run the dopey, which means my goal for 2024 is to get a really strong half marathon. So I need to increase my hip strength in order to be able to do that. For the past couple of years, I've only run a max of about 10 miles a week. So getting up to that 15-mile mark, which is where I like to be before a half marathon race, is going to be a bit of a hip challenge at this point. So I wanted to share with you my hip exercises and stretches and everything that I'm doing to make sure that my hips and pelvic floor are strong enough for that increase in the distance. Now, we previously published a video, but of course, we had some audio problems, and of course, I've changed the program since then. So I wanted to share with you my updated program because this might be some things that might help you, especially if you're running and training, because these are a couple things that I needed to add in that have really made a big difference. All right, ladies, the first exercise is my favorite pelvic floor exercise. You've probably seen it on this channel before, but we're definitely gonna do it again. I start with it every single morning. We're gonna start laying on your back with your feet and your knees hip width apart. You're going to slide your toes towards each other and then straight forward. Now the key with this one is we cannot pick up those toes because we're trying to get those deep hip internal and external rotators to work on that pelvic floor. You're going to do 15 of those. Then you're going to slide your knees together and your feet together, and now you're going to slide your toes away from each other. Now, you're not going to have as much motion in this direction. I don't want you to try to lift up those toes and really make it move. That's not the goal. We're just trying to work in the range of motion we have. So what you have is what you have. You go as far as you can, and then you stop. Again, you're going to do 15 of those. So 15 of each of those, and you're going to do 2 sets. Now, after that, I like to start stretching out my hips, and since I'm on the floor, I'm going to do the child's pose. Now, with the child's pose, I like to do it with my knees wide. I know some people like to do it with their knees closer together. They feel that that gets a better hip stretch. Either way is fine.
When you're in this position, I want to make sure you do some deep breathing because why not get that integrated here, right? So you're trying to bring that big belly breath in and out.
I'll stay in this position to do about 5 to 10 belly breaths until I feel like I've really got that diaphragm activated because I need to go running. I need to have my diaphragm working right. Now, for me at this point, I've added in a cat camel. Now, a lot of people when they do a cat camel think of moving their low back up and down. Now, for me, what I like to do is work more on my upper back. So I will move my low back too, but I'm really trying to get that motion through the shoulders. I find that as I increase my running distance, my shoulders get tighter over time because they're trying to help me breathe. So I really want to get that whole spine movement with that cat camel. Next, I need to stretch out my hip flexors. Now, this is a pretty aggressive hip flexor stretch. So if you have any problems with knee pain, if you have any problems with SI joint dysfunction, I do not recommend this stretch. I'll show you an alternate stretch in standing for you. But this is the one that I like to do for me. So you're going to come forward into a deep, deep lunge position and really so right now my left psoas is really stretching out. My hips are squared up. You're not doing any of this rotational stuff. You're not torquing through the low back. Hips are squared up, and I'm going deep into stretching that psoas. I'll hold that for 10 seconds. I'll come out a little bit because we don't want to stay there too long. And then come back in for 10 seconds. You can also switch sides if that's why you wanted to take a break. I'll do 3 sets of 10 seconds on each side. All right, so if that was too aggressive of a hip flexor stretch, here's the one that I recommend for you. It's the standing quad stretch, which is also one that's going to be in the program anyway. But for you, I'm going to change it a little bit. We're going to hold on to a stable surface, so we've got that balance. we're gonna bring one foot behind us and bring our knees together. Now, this should be your quad stretch aspect. If you want to add in the hip flexor, then what you're going to do is you're gonna push those glutes forward and pull that knee back just a little bit, and you should feel it move up into that hip flexor as well. This is a way to get your quads and your hip flexor at the same time. I don't usually do this right before I go running, but I definitely do it after I've gone running. The next thing we're gonna do is a hamstring stretch. Now this is by far my least favorite stretch, which means it's the one that I need the most. You're gonna put your foot up on some object. I'm using this bolster here. You don't need it to necessarily be up super high, but you're gonna pop your foot up there and you're going to lean forward through your hips. So your booty's coming back and you're coming forward here. Keeping that back nice and straight while we do it. What we don't want is this stretch here. All right, that puts a lot of torque potentially through our low back. It does stretch the hamstrings, but you're getting a lot of tension through that low back. That's not what we want to do. So, other side, we'll practice. Foot comes up, hips square off, booty goes back. I come forward till I feel a nice hamstring stretch. I'm gonna hold this for 10 seconds, and then I'm gonna switch to the other side and do that for 3 sets. Next stretch is the gastroc and soleus stretch. Those two are our calf muscles, and I feel it's really important to stretch both of them, especially if you're a runner, a walker, or a hiker. It's really important to make sure that they are both very flexible. So you're gonna hold on to a stable object. Your back leg is straight, heel is on the ground. In this position, you should definitely feel a nice calf stretch. You're gonna hold that for 10 seconds, and then staying in exactly the same position, you're going to bend your back knee. That's gonna get the soleus a little bit more than the gastroc and change the stretch you feel. So I'm gonna do it straight leg, heel down for 10 seconds, and bent knee, heel down for 10 seconds. All right, the next exercise is literally my favorite hip exercise of all time. This is definitely one I recommend for a lot of people, but if you're a runner, you need to be doing this stretch on a daily basis. In fact, I usually recommend that people use it as kind of a warm-up with 5 to 10 reps, and then do it after their run, just so they can really feel how those muscles are changing while they're running. You'll notice a big difference. So what you're gonna do is hold on to a stable object. This is not a balance exercise, so we're not trying to work on balancing, just something to keep us stable. Your leg's gonna come straight back. You can point your toe or flex your toe, whichever you're more comfortable with. You're gonna stack your hips right on top of each other, keeping that arm by the side to make sure the back doesn't get torqued. And then you're gonna tuck this hip underneath the right hip. So left is tucking underneath right. And then we're gonna open up. Now when you do this, you'll notice that my knee bends a little bit because it has to unlock those hamstrings. It's not a squat, that's not the goal, but you do need to unlock that. So just unlock that hamstring a little bit by bending that knee so you can get as far as possible, and then stack those hips on top of each other. Our goal with this one is 2 sets of 20 on each side, but of course you do what you can with good form and work up to 20. You ready for a challenge now? The next one is a single leg stand up. This one's gonna be a little bit challenging. So find a chair that is a little bit above knee height to start with. So my hips are a little bit above my knee. You can bring the height down as you get a little bit stronger, but it's easier to start a little bit higher up. With one leg in the air, you're gonna stand up and sit down. Wow! It's a little bit difficult to balance, as you can see. I'm definitely having to work pretty hard to keep my balance. Now we wanna make sure that that knee's not shaking back and forth, right? That's part of the strength, that's part of what you're working on. And I like to do this one with my feet bare. So having socks on, but having that contact with the floor. If you do it with shoes on, it does help to increase the stability a little bit, but because I'm a runner, I'm trying to work a little bit more on that foot stability, so I have more of that support with running. So if you do it barefoot, you also get a little bit of a foot workout. Usually at this point, I'd hop on the reformer here and I would do some abdominal exercise. I'm gonna show you, if I don't have access to the reformer, maybe I'm at home, I'm gonna show you the exercise that I like to do next. We're gonna finish up with some abs now. If I don't have a chance to use the reformer, this is my favorite ab exercise because it's really safe for your low back, your neck, and your shoulders, but it's a really effective exercise to work on your abs. It's the Pilates 100, so you may have heard of it before. So we're gonna get into position. It's a little hard for me to talk while I'm doing it though, so I'm going to explain it now and just give you some prompts while we go through it. So when we get into position, your legs are gonna be straight out, you're gonna be pushing out through your heels. Your neck and shoulders are going to be up, but they're gonna be supported by your arms. Do not crank your neck up, okay? Your neck should remain nice and long, legs should remain nice and long. That's gonna keep you from getting crunchy in that neck and also make sure you're getting that good ab activation. Your arms are gonna be straight out. You're going to beat for 5 beats while you breathe in and out for 5 beats while you breathe out. I like to start in a tabletop position just to make sure that my back is in the right spot. For this exercise, unlike many Pilates exercises, I do actually like to have my back all the way on the ground. I'm not trying to keep any space in my back with this particular exercise. I'm going to bring those legs out, pushing through those heels, shoulders come up, and here we go. We're gonna breathe in for 5. Out. So, you breathe in for 5, you breathe out for 5, and that's 10. You do that 10 times, and that's 100. So that's the Pilates 100, which is my favorite ab exercise to really hit those abs quickly without having to do a whole bunch of different exercises. I hope this video has been helpful. I would love for you to post below what your favorite hip exercise is or what your goal is, your physical goal for 2023. If you like this content, please click subscribe because we would love to send more of this to your inbox. Have a great day, everyone.